Have you ever noticed that the hardest part of investing isn't actually finding the money? It's finding the patience. Imagine spending 5 years investing every single month. You skip vacations, drive an older car, ignore all the people getting rich overnight on social media, and then, just when you're starting to wonder if any of it is actually worth it, you quit. And here's the heartbreaking part. For many investors, success was probably much closer than they ever realized. Because wealth has a strange habit of showing up right after most people stop believing it's possible. I think almost everyone who's invested for more than a few months has had that moment. You open your brokerage account hoping to finally see some exciting growth, and instead your portfolio looks almost exactly like it did 6 months ago. Maybe it's up a little, maybe it's actually down. Either way, it doesn't feel like all those sacrifices are paying off. You start asking yourself questions. Should I be doing something different? Did I pick the wrong investments? Is everyone else making money except me? Honestly, those thoughts are completely normal. And I spend way too much time thinking about money, investing, and why some people quietly build extraordinary wealth while others give up just a few steps before everything starts changing. Because investing isn't just a numbers game. It's a psychology game. The charts, the percentages, the returns, those are actually the easy part. The difficult part is convincing your own brain to keep believing when there's almost no visible evidence that you're making progress. And that's where most people lose. Not because they picked terrible investments. Not because they weren't smart enough. But because they expected investing to feel rewarding long before it actually does. It's a little like planting a tree. The first year, almost nothing happens. The second year, still not much. You water it. You protect it. You wait. Meanwhile, your neighbor plants flowers that bloom every single season, and suddenly your tiny little tree starts looking like a pretty bad decision. Then one day, almost without warning, that little tree is taller than your house. That's investing. Slow. Quiet. Almost boring. Until it isn't. Today's video isn't really about stock picking. It's not about predicting the next bull market. And it's definitely not about getting rich quickly. It's about understanding why the people who eventually become financially independent usually aren't the smartest investors in the room. They're simply the ones who stay long enough to let time do its job. And honestly, that realization completely changed how I think about money. Maybe it'll change how you think about it too. Success usually looks invisible before it looks obvious. Here's something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Human beings are terrible at recognizing slow progress. Seriously. Think about it. If you started going to the gym yesterday and looked in the mirror this morning, you probably wouldn't notice anything different. If you studied Spanish for 1 week, you wouldn't suddenly become fluent. If you planted a seed in your backyard, you wouldn't expect a giant oak tree next month. Yet somehow, when it comes to investing, people expect miracles after 6 months. It's kind of funny when you think about it. We understand that every meaningful skill takes years to develop. But we expect wealth to arrive almost immediately. And when it doesn't, we panic. The market drops 12%. We panic. The news says a recession might be coming. We panic. Someone on YouTube claims a brand new investment is making people rich overnight. We panic again. Our brains are constantly searching for evidence that we're either winning or losing. The problem is that investing rarely gives you either answer in the short term. Instead, it gives you uncertainty. Lots of uncertainty. Imagine you're climbing a mountain that's completely covered in fog. Every single step feels exactly the same. You can't see the summit. You can't even tell if you're getting closer. You just keep walking. Now imagine someone halfway up the mountain turns around because they assume they're walking in the wrong direction. The summit was probably only a few hundred feet away. But they'll never know. Investing works almost exactly like that. Many investors quit during what financial experts sometimes call the boring middle. It's that long stretch where you've already built good habits. But the life-changing results haven't shown up yet. You're investing every month. Your portfolio is growing. Compound interest is quietly doing its job. But emotionally, it still feels like nothing is happening. That's dangerous. Because boredom has probably destroyed more investment portfolios than market crashes ever have. People don't usually abandon investing after making huge gains. They quit because they feel stuck. Because nothing exciting is happening. Because progress feels invisible. And honestly, invisible progress is still progress. One of the biggest mindset shifts you can make is learning to celebrate consistency instead of excitement. Excitement comes and goes. Consistency builds wealth. That's why the investors who eventually reach financial freedom often seem ordinary. They're not constantly checking their accounts. They're not chasing every new trend. They're not trying to beat everyone else. They're simply showing up. Again. And again. And again. Month after month. Year after year. Until one day, everyone else suddenly calls them lucky. But luck had very little to do with it. They simply stayed in the game longer than most people were willing to. And that's a lesson almost nobody appreciates until they're looking back years later. One of the biggest myths about investing is that success comes from finding the perfect stock. It doesn't. More often than not, success comes from simply refusing to quit. Think about it. The market will crash. The news will tell you the economy is falling apart. You'll open your portfolio and wonder if you've made a terrible mistake. That happens to almost every long-term investor. The difference is that successful investors don't see those moments as the end of the journey. They see them as part of the price of admission. Because wealth isn't built during the exciting years. It's built during the boring months. The uncertain months. The months when it feels like nothing is happening. And then, almost without warning, compound growth begins to do what it has always promised to do. Your portfolio starts growing faster. Your confidence grows with it. And suddenly, all those small monthly investments that once felt insignificant become the foundation of real financial freedom. So if you're watching this today and wondering whether it's worth continuing, let this be your reminder. You might be much closer than you think. Don't let temporary emotions erase years of consistent effort. Keep investing. Keep learning. Keep showing up. Because one day, someone will look at your success and call you lucky. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck.